Hello, I'm Adam Noyce of ANPN Productions, and thank you all for joining me here on the 5th anniversary of the Zeek Trilogy. We made these films over the course of 4 years. It was freshman year of high school, sophomore year of high school, junior year of high school. We didn't shoot anything my senior year, but Compound of Chaos took so long to shoot, as well as, taking so long to edit. It took a long time to edit, that it wasn't able to be released until halfway through senior year, believe it or not. People still come up to me back at home and around places being like, Adam, I just watched, Lake of Death. It's a really good film, even though I think it's a piece of garbage. But they still talk to me about it, and I don't really understand why. For some reason, the Zeek Trilogy has sort of become my staple. The Zeek Trilogy is really simple. It's about a man named Zeek trying to survive the zombie apocalypse as a whole, and it's about his trial and tribulations going from being a nobody and somebody who would easily have been killed off within the first season of The Walking Dead to, an actual quote-unquote leader by the end of the trilogy. And, he goes through arcs and meets new characters, falls in love, and everything along those lines. Up first we have Forest of Blood. Forest of Blood was the first of the Zeek Trilogy, of course. It was originally made for a high school film festival at Catamount in Vermont. It was shot over the course of one weekend, and it was sort of a last-minute ordeal. And we shot it with literally a flip camera, and I'm not even exaggerating. All we had was a flip camera. We had two total flip cameras, and that was also the first time I ever shot with dual cameras, where we had two cameras set up where we could capture the action from two angles at once instead of just shooting everything twice with only one camera, which was interesting. It was also a pain to keep track of. It was also the first film where we actually used After Effects with my friend Matt Crafton, which was great. In many ways, Forest of Blood was nothing but a giant experiment piece for us, seeing what we could do with literally nothing. And, for example, the makeup itself, done by Logan Cadle, is very prototypey compared to what we get in the next two films. But if it wasn't for Forest of Blood, we wouldn't have known what to do, specifically for Lake of Death. The version that you're about to watch now is the Redux version, which was basically a re-edit by me with new sound effects, new pacing, and so on and so forth. And it's actually shorter than the version released at Catamount. New effects were added in because some of the sequences in the film we just simply did not have time to put in actual effects, more muzzle flashes and so on and so forth. But it is the Redux version. A new score was added to the film. So I hope you enjoy Forest of Blood Redux. We'll see you on the flip side. That was Forest of Blood Redux, and I hope you enjoy. But up next is probably the most famous out of the Zeek Trilogy, and that is Lake of Death. Lake of Death was by far the movie where we had the most fun making overall, and it is definitely, I would say, the best, with its own original music score, a script that was very coherent, that we were able to stick with throughout the entire thing and hardly change, as well as it had the best locations and it had the most extras out of the three, as well as the best make. It just really is the best film out of the three, and this is definitely the one I had released in theaters. This is the film that people were like, Adam, I just watched Lake of Death. That's the one with the zombies in the snow. But this is the one where Logan Cadle and I were really on our A game. I had just bought a new Canon camera, and so on and so forth, that gave us some really good imagery for just a high school film with like a $400-something budget. And the makeup effects were just great because Logan could really just go to town because I allotted more money for it, and he just did an absolutely phenomenal job as a whole. Also, this film had full cooperation with Matt Crafton, who did all the After Effects and the muzzle flashes. Some of them were done by me, but hardly any of them were, and he just did a phenomenal job with absolutely nothing. Basically, Lake of Death just succeeded at being something, us taking a concept and putting it one step further. And I hope you enjoy the extended director's cut of Lake of Death. That was the extended director's cut to Lake of Death, a version rarely seen by people, even online. Up next is the final and the longest, and in many ways the most ambitious out of the trilogy, Compound of Chaos, which the title is aptly named. This movie was a complete mess right from the get-go. We knew we were going to have to improvise things. Cast changed the day before we started shooting. Constantly, people were always bickering about what their characters were, specifically, two people in particular, Fran being one of them, unfortunately. Actors were hardly ever in the same room with each other. The fact that the movie is cohesive as it is, honestly, is a testament to the dedication of, a lot of the crew on the film. Not really myself, but a lot of the crew, specifically Logan Cadle, who really did want to see this movie finished. In fact, some of the last sequences we shot with the character Brent and Zeek were shot over a year after we had started principal photography, and these scenes had been, shot and then edited, and then I didn't like it, so we went back in and we literally reshot it, because Brent was really difficult to work with, not because of him as an individual, but because of his unbelievably chaotic schedule. But this movie, because of the chaos of the actual production, taught me a lot about managing, and it really worked out for the best in my next film, Which Way They Walk, which is nowhere near as ambitious, nor did I want it to be, as Compound of Chaos. But it taught me a lot, and I have to say that is my greatest feeling, my favorite emotion, or memory, of the Zeek Trilogy as a whole, is despite all the chaos, especially with Compound of Chaos. It taught me a lot. Without it, I wouldn't have, won my $10,000 scholarship. I wouldn't have made it half the people wouldn't know me if it wasn't for Lake of Death and Compound of Chaos. I'm very honored by that, and I look back at that time with fondness for the most part, even though the movies themselves could have been better. I'll always have that in the back of my mind. I'm always grateful for those who worked on it. So without further ado, I present to you Compound of Chaos. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes the 5th year anniversary special on the ANPN for the Zeek Trilogy, the films that I worked on over high school. I hope you enjoyed the madness of each of these films, and thank you very much. And do stay tuned for what we have next, and I hope you do stay tuned every Saturday for more episodes of the ANPN right here on the AN Productions Facebook page, broadcasted live.